Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you like retro gaming, you have come to the right place. So I want to talk to you guys about why I'm not doing Retropalooza this year, the retro gaming convention. There's one in Arlington, which is between Dallas and Fort Worth. That's later this year. And there was just recently one in Houston. Now, I'm a Texas guy, and I'm in driving distance of both of these shows, and I love retro gaming conventions, and I've had a lot of fun at Retropalooza in the past. But I want to tell you guys in just a little bit, just a couple of minutes, why I'm not doing Retropalooza this year, why I didn't do the one in Houston, and why I'm not doing the one in Arlington coming up. It's not because I have anything against Retropalooza. As a matter of fact, I've done most Retropalooza shows, and I did that first one. I believe it was back in 2012. It was just at a small event center in a community, and that was the first one. I was really excited to do it because prior to 2012 and Retropalooza, there wasn't much in the way of gaming conventions in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, of retro gaming convention at least. Of course, we have QuakeCon, some stuff like that, and some big anime shows, but retro gaming conventions, Screw Attack Game Convention was about the only game in town, and that was kind of a different beast altogether. I'm going to do a Screw Attack video at some point. But anyway, Retropalooza came along in 2012, and I was really excited that a traditional, conventional, so to speak, gaming convention was coming to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Awesome. Very happy to do that, and I'm very glad to see that they've grown into the Arlington Convention Center. It's a huge show now with a big vendor's room and a lot of attendees, and I always do really well there. And I'm always a vendor. They don't invite me out as a guest, but I am a vendor, and that's fine. It's up to them. I mean, they can have whoever they want as a guest out. I love going to conventions as a vendor, as a guest panelist, as a guest author, or as an attendee. I just love doing conventions, and I'm always happy to do them when I can. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Pat Country is at both shows. That doesn't matter to me. I'll be happy to do either, both Retropaloozas. They're in driving distance. I do well. I sell a lot of books. I sell a lot of merchandise. It's all good. That doesn't have anything to do with it, in case anybody was wondering. It doesn't have anything to do with me having anything against Billy and Jay. I've interviewed Billy for the Game Chasers movie. I interviewed Shane Stein, the executive producer of the Game Chasers movie. I've interviewed Metal Jesus Rocks about Retropalooza, about his appearance a few years ago, and I've helped promote the show many times. Jay has bought my 2 Super Nintendo books, and on and on and on. I love both Retropalooza shows because I can drive there, set up, and sell a ton of stuff. But I'm not doing them this year. I didn't do the Houston one because it was the same weekend as Classic Game Fest in Austin. Now, I'll always go to Classic Game Fest, and I always will. That will take priority over every other show. I can't see another reason it won't, because David Kalin, the owner, who also owns Game Over Video Games, he had me out to his Game Over Video Games store in 2007 when my first book had just come out, and I was pretty much an unknown author at the time, but he had me out, and had food, and he announced it, had a big event, or not a big event, it was a small event, just an author signing, but he made a big deal out of it and promoted it, and it was cool, and I sold some books and had a lot of fun. And we've been cross-promoting and helping each other out ever since. At the time, Game Over Video Games was small, just one or two stores, and now it has like 12 or something, and is very well known. And I just had my first book out, and I've got about a dozen or so now. So we've kind of helped each other out as we've both grown in our respective fields, and it's worked out great. And Classic Game Fest is always my best selling. Every year I sell more stuff at Classic Game Fest than any other show. It's just, they get a ton of attendees, and there's a lot of money in Austin, and I just do great there. Also sell more books there than at any other show. Just phenomenal. So I'm always going to do Classic Game Fest, and David has already scheduled Classic Game Fest for next year. It's late in July. So show promoters, if you want to avoid being on the same weekend as Classic Game Fest, you have notice he's already booked it a year in advance. All right, so and I realize, show promoters, I realize that sometimes it's not up to you to determine the exact weekend you're going to have your show. I know there are conflicts with these event centers, with these convention halls. I know there are lots of other events at these venues, obviously, and sometimes just the weekends you want aren't available. And there are so many conventions these days, there's bound to be crossover. Next year, it's possible that the Portland Retro Gaming Expo is going to be the same weekend as 2 other big shows in the country that I want to go to. And I want to go to all 3. How is that going to happen? How's that going to work? And I love going to Portland, so we will see what will happen. I like John Riggs's advice. The first gaming convention that invites you to their show each year, like say your year is coming up, the first one that reaches out to you to invite you out to be a guest, go with them if that's the show that you respect and that you want to do. And I'll get to something more related to that in just a minute. Still talking about the Houston show. It was the same weekend as Classic Game Fest, and that just wasn't going to work for me, because Classic Game Fest, I do it every year. Now next year, if Houston Retropalooza is on a different weekend and I'm available, I'll be happy to go there, either as a guest. They don't typically have me out as a guest. They seem to focus on YouTubers, and yeah, I'm a YouTuber, but I'm more of an author than a YouTuber. And if they don't want to have me out as a guest, that's fine. That is completely up to the convention organizers. I'll be happy to go to Retropalooza as a guest, as a vendor, or an attendee. It's just a fun show. So there's no ego here. It's just a matter of practicality of which shows I can do. And I just enjoy gaming conventions. As a matter of fact, if Houston were this coming weekend instead of last weekend, I would have done it, because I'm free. I'm not traveling out of town this weekend, I don't think. I'm not doing gaming shows this weekend, I'll put it that way. And I would definitely be doing Retropalooza Houston. For next year, guys, when you guys do Retropalooza Houston, if you want to have me out as a guest panelist, or if not, I'll just come out and be a vendor if it's not the same weekend as Classic Game Fest or another show where I've been invited out as a guest. I'll gladly do it, because I'm on board. I like to, I have fun at Retropalooza every year, and I sell stuff. So let's talk about Retropalooza Arlington. That's the October 23rd and 24th. John Riggs is going to be there, 8-Bit Eric, Mr. Right Way, Taffeta Darling, Tyler Esposito, My Retro Life. These are awesome YouTubers, good friends of mine, all. I would love to see them and hang out with them at Retropalooza Arlington and just be in driving distance of that show. That would be amazing. Unfortunately, before Retropalooza announced their dates for October, I've been invited out to Korg's. I say unfortunately, that's only because they're the same weekend. I'm really happy to be invited out as a guest to Korg's, because it's going to be an awesome show. Get a load of this guest lineup. So Korg's in Columbus, Ohio is October 23rd. Same weekend as Retropalooza, which is in driving distance, but I'm flying out to Korg's because they're having me out as a guest. And listen to this amazing lineup. Brian F. Collin of Rampage fame. David Crane, creator of Pitfall. Warren Davis, the man known as Qbert creator. Holy cow, unbelievable. Or co-creator if you prefer, but he's the man most identified with Qbert. Dan Kitchen and Gary Kitchen of Keystone Capers fame. Unbelievable. Just a great guest list. Also, some fellow writers are going to be there. Michael Thomason, Leonard Herman, and there's a couple other guests there as well. Just an amazing lineup of guests, especially for a one-day show. I've done Korg's a couple of times before. Oh yes, YouTubing sensation John Gamester81 Lester is going to be there. I should remember him because I believe they've got us booked in the same hotel room. Anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be just a ridiculously great show, and I was invited out to that before I knew the dates of Retropalooza, and I'm invited out as a guest, and that's always an honor and just amazing, and that really helps promote my books and promote my appearance at the show. So that's awesome, because typically I'm just a vendor at Retropalooza, which is fine. Again, show promoters have a limited number of space for guests, a limited number of panels available and all that stuff, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I like John Riggs' attitude about, the people the convention promoter that invites you out first, go with them if you want to do that show. So that's a good point of view. And David Kalin, who, like I mentioned, runs Game Over Video Games and Classic Game Fest, he says, go where you are wanted. So that's a great philosophy. Classic Game Fest invited me out as a guest in Austin, and Korgs has invited me out as a guest in Columbus to do their show as a guest author, and I'm super excited about that. Unbelievable. Now moving forward, next year, if Retropalooza, Houston and or Arlington, if they're on weekends, I'm available. I would love to do those shows. If you guys, Billy and Jay, if you happen to watch this, if you want to have me out as a guest, I would love to do that. If not, I'll be happy to be a vendor or just an attendee. I just like to go to Retropalooza. It is a lot of fun. So I want to know from you guys, what shows are you doing this year? What gaming conventions did you do? Did you go to Classic Game Fest or Retropalooza? And why did you pick one of the other over the other? Was it just closer to where you lived, or you heard one show was better than the other, or whatever the case may be? And had you heard about Korgs before I mentioned it here? Korgs, Columbus, Ohio Retro Gaming Society is basically what that stands for. Korgs, it's a great gaming show. I've done it a couple times before, and it was awesome. Again, I have nothing against Retropalooza or the Game Chasers or any of that. There were just conflicts this year with my schedule about doing other shows that I was invited to before I even knew Retropalooza was on the calendar. Jay bought both of my Super Nintendo books of the show. Cool, we go way back, and I'll be glad to do Retropaloozas next year and beyond. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I believe Daisy's about ready to go get down, so let's put her down. And maybe I can do Retropalooza Houston and Arlington next year. We shall see. But I hope to see a lot of you guys out at Korgs October 23rd. And I'm going to be doing Houston Arcade Expo in November. I will put links to those shows in this video. Thanks for watching. Again, thank you for subscribing. I'm almost to 3,200 subscribers. Really appreciate it, guys. We will talk to you in another video. If you're a fan of my work, you might want to consider supporting me on Patreon. For just a low fee each month, you get a lot of extra content. Another way to support the channel and my writing career is to buy books direct from me, including the 100 Greatest Console Video Games, the Classic Home Video Game Series. It's like an encyclopedia set. And this massive bad boy, the NES Omnibus Volume 1 A through L. I will put links in the description of this video where you can buy books direct from me and where you can support me on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.